It was curious to see how we took it. The natives, for instance, fell into a condition of dumb, stolid fear. The captain, Uduz his name was, a Frenchman, became very nervous and voluble. He actually got the twitches. He was a large, fleshy man, weighing at least 200 pounds, and he quickly became a faithful representation of a quivering jelly mountain of fat. The German, the two Americans, and myself bought up all the Scotch whisky and proceeded to stay drunk. The theory was beautiful. Namely, if we kept ourselves soaked in alcohol, every smallpox germ that came into contact with us would immediately be scorched to a cinder. And the theory worked, though I must confess that neither Captain Uduz nor Archun were attacked by the disease either. The Frenchman did not drink at all, while Archun restricted himself to 1 drink daily. It was a pretty time. The sun, going into northern declination, was straight overhead. There was no wind except for frequent squalls, which blew fiercely for from 5 minutes to half an hour, and wound up by deluging us with rain. After each squall, the awful sun would come out, drawing clouds of steam from the soaked decks. The steam was not nice. It was the vapor of death, freighted with millions and millions of germs. We always took another drink when we saw it going up from the dead and dying, and usually we took 2 or 3 more drinks, mixing them exceptionally stiff. Also, we made it a rule to take an additional several each time they hove the dead over to the sharks that swarmed about us. We had a week of it, and then the whisky gave out. It was just as well, or I shouldn't be alive now. It took a sober man to pull through what followed, as you will agree when I mention the little fact that only 2 men did pull through. The other man was the Heathen. At least that was what I heard Captain Uduz call him at the moment I first became aware of the Heathen's existence. But to come back. It was the end of the week, with the whisky gone and the pearl buyers sober, that I happened to glance at the barometer that hung in the cabin companionway. Its normal register in the Paumotas was 29.90, and it was quite customary to see it vacillate between 29.85 and 30.00, or even 30.05, but to see it as I saw it, down to 29.62, was sufficient to sober the most drunken pearl buyer that ever incinerated smallpox microbes in Scotch whisky. I called Captain Uduz's attention to it, only to be informed that he had watched it going down for several hours. There was little to do, but that little he did very well considering the circumstances. He took off the light sails, shortened right down to storm canvas, spread lifelines, and waited for the wind. His mistake lay in what he did after the wind came. He hove to on the port tack, which was the right thing to do south of the equator, if, and there was the rub, if one were not in the direct path of the hurricane. We were in the direct path. I could see that by the steady increase of the wind and the equally steady fall of the barometer. I wanted him to turn and run with the wind on the port quarter until the barometer ceased falling, and then heave to. We argued till he was reduced to hysteria, but budge he would not. The worst of it was that I could not get the rest of the pearl buyers to back me up. Who was I, anyway, to know more about the sea and its ways than a properly qualified captain, was what was in their minds, I knew. Of course, the sea rose with the wind frightfully, and I shall never forget the first 3 seas the Petite Jeanne shipped. She had fallen off, as vessels do at times when hove to, and the first sea made a clean breach. The lifelines were only for the strong and well, and little good were they even for them when the women and children, the bananas and coconuts, the pigs and trade boxes, the sick and the dying, were swept along in a solid, screeching, groaning mass. The second sea filled the Petite Jeanne's decks flush with the rails, and as her stern sank down and her bow tossed skyward, all the miserable dunnage of life and luggage poured aft. It was a human torrent. They came head first, feet first, sidewise rolling over and over, twisting,